Good afternoon.
Again, I'll reiterate as well, if you can pull yourself a little bit closer to that mic, and remember to keep your voice up so that everyone can hear you. First of all, who are you employed by?
The City of Ansonia,
In what capacity?
as a patrol lieutenant.
Can you tell us how long have you been working for the, is it the City of Ansonia Police Department?
Yes, sir.
How long have you been working for them?
For 20 years.
And can you tell me a little bit about your background, your training, and your experience?
I was hired in 2004 by the Ansonia Police Department. In early 2005, I graduated the State Police Academy. I went on to do patrol work, where I was responsible for handling and investigating day-to-day calls for service, as well as proactive policing. While in the Ansonia Police Department, I was assigned to the DEA task force out of New Haven, and I was there for 3 years investigating narcotic cases, not only in Ansonia, but throughout the state. In 2015, I was promoted to patrol sergeant. My responsibilities there was to supervise and oversee the shifts. Last month, I was appointed to lieutenant.
Well, congratulations on your promotion.
Thank you.
Referring back to now the time frame of December of 2019, were you employed by the Ansonia Police Department in that time frame?
Yes, I was.
And specifically on December the 2nd of 2019, were you working on that Monday, December 2nd of 2019?
Yes, I was.
And at that time, what was your rank?
Patrol sergeant.
And can you tell me what shift you were working and what your assignment was that day?
Yes, I was working our evening shift, which was 3 p.m. to 11 p.m., and I was assigned as the shift supervisor.
Shortly before 8 p.m., did you have reason to come into contact with Officer Paul Smith?
Yes, I did.
And where did that occur?
In the patrol room at the police department.
Were you Officer Smith's supervisor that evening?
Yes, I was.
And did he make you aware of a matter that he was working on?
Yes, he did.
And what was he working on?
He informed me that he was working a missing person complaint pertaining to Christine Holloway and Vanessa Morales of 6.5 Myrtle Ave. He explained to me that Christina did not go to...
Objection, Your Honor, unresponsive.
Sustained.
Did, with regard to that investigation, are you aware with what he was tasked to do?
Yes, he was tasked to investigate a missing person complaint. He advised me that the party...
Well, not with regard to what you were told, but
Okay.
in terms of, did he obtain information in an attempt to investigate this complaint?
Yes, he advised me that the police department was out earlier conducting a welfare check.
Right, so we have to be careful with what other people said. So we're providing hearsay responses. I understand the objection, and I understand you're not asking for that as an answer. So if you could correct your witness.
So, Sergeant, with regard to getting past what he told you
Okay.
and getting into now, did you observe him taking steps with regard to his investigation?
Yes, Officer Smith was going to be attempting
Objection,
to...
Your Honor, it's a yes or no question, and he answered yes.
That is true. I will sustain the objection. I'll strike anything after yes. Thank you.
So you were aware of what he was going to do.
Yes, sir.
Did you observe him in his task?
Yes, I did.
What did you observe him do?
Officer Smith was placing a phone call via landline to Christine Holloway's boyfriend, who was Jose Morales, from a phone number that he retrieved from Christine Holloway's family.
And were you present when the phone call was being made?
Yes, I was.
At any point during the phone call that you were observing, did you interject or become involved in the conversation?
Yes, I did.
And did you ask questions?
I did.
Going to play for you part of States 3. It's a full exhibit starting at point 3 minutes and 16 seconds to 4 minutes and 4 seconds, a short clip of that interaction.
She left early this morning from your house. So what time did you guys show up at your house last night?
No, it's not my house.
Right. Okay, but she slept there last night, correct?
No, she slept at her house.
Oh, okay. Oh, then you guys both left her house together this morning.
No, I talked to her.
Okay, so you talked to her this morning
Yes.
at 7 o'clock when she was leaving for work.
Yes.
When's the last time you saw her then?
What is Friday?
Friday. Where was she when you saw her?
At my house.
At your house, okay.
All right. So when you
So now, when you asked Mr. Morales, she slept there last night, why did you ask him that?
Because early in that conversation, he had stated that he last saw her leave that morning with Vanessa for work.
And did you make any assumptions based on that statement?
Yes, I assumed that they were together, and I was trying to ascertain what time they got to the house that evening prior.
And at some point in time, did Mr. Morales change that earlier statement?
Yes, he did.
And what did he indicate to you?
He now indicated that he didn't see them on Monday morning, that in fact that he only spoke to them, and that the last time he did see them was on Friday.
When the conversation ended, what, if anything, did you do next?
At this point, I advised Officer Smith that I was going to be heading to 6.5 Myrtle Ave with Officer Nelson there. I wanted to see the residence for myself.
When did you make your way to 6.5 Myrtle Ave?
I did.
And can you describe the conditions at the time once you left the Ansonia Police Department?
That night it was actively snowing. It had snowed for several hours. When I arrived on scene, there was some accumulation of snow already.
When you arrived on the scene there, what observations did you make?
On the front door, we observed a note left behind by Christine Holloway's family asking her to contact them when she returned home. We also noticed that that there was 2 locks on the door, a deadbolt and a knob.
Well, let me ask you this. When you got to the scene, did you meet with Officer Nelson?
I did.
And was Officer Nelson there before or after you arrived?
Officer Nelson was there prior.
Okay. And did Officer Nelson point anything out to you upon your arrival?
He did. He pointed out a skylight that was left open to the front of the house.
And is it at that point in time that you approached the doorway to 6.5 Myrtle?
It is.
Are these all separate or? Your Honor, can I just have 1 second? I
Of
just wanna
course.
Make sure. Okay, 4, between 6.5. 5, front door 6.5. 6, rear 6.5. 7, front door from left side. And 8, kicked in door panel, front door. Your Honor, I have no objection to any of these being admitted.
All right, so why don't we just please
So what you-
state what they are for purposes of the
States
record?
4 through 8, Your Honor. I'll have the witness identify them
Okay.
during his testimony.
So court will accept into I'm assuming you're moving as full?
Yes,
There was
please.
no objection. Court will accept into evidence as full exhibits dates 4 through 8. Was that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, and we'll get a description of them as we move forward with testimony. Thank you. They are photographs.
Lieutenant Barrera. Showing you what has been marked as state 4 as a full exhibit. Can you tell me, do you generally recognize what this is?
Yes, it's a photo of 6.5 Myrtle Ave taken from the street view.
Okay. And is this a fair and accurate representation of how 6.5 Myrtle Avenue appeared to you when you arrived on scene on December 2nd of 2019?
For the most part, yes. There's more snow now than when I first arrived on scene.
Okay. So, can you tell me, Madam Reporter, you'll let me know if I'm off mic. First of all, what is this here in the foreground, the bottom part of the picture?
The street, Myrtle
Yes.
Ave?
Yes, that's Myrtle Ave?
Yes.
Okay. And this red building here, what building is that?
That is 6.5 Myrtle Ave.
All right. And what is this seeming to be a wood structure in the front of the building?
It's a ramp leading up to the front porch, which would be the front door area.
All right. Would this be the front entrance of the building?
Yes, it is.
So now, when you got on scene, did you approach that front door?
Yes, I did.
Showing you states 5 as a full exhibit. Can you tell me what you recognize that to be?
That is the front door of 6.5 Myrtle Ave.
All right. And is this a fair and accurate representation of how 6.5 Myrtle Ave looked on the evening that you arrived?
Yes, except the same caveat, there's more snow on the ground than when I first arrived, as well as the damage that I did to the door on the bottom right there.
So the damage, forgive me, I'm stepping in television camera cords with tape on it. You're referring to damage. Do you see the damage now that I've zoomed in on the shot?
Yes.
And can you describe with your words what you're talking about?
Yeah, the bottom right panel of that door was kicked out. That's the damage I'm referring to.
And who did that damage?
I did.
Am I correctly identifying with this pointer what you're referencing?
Yes, you are.
Just let the record reflect that the prosecutor did point out the lower right.
Inside the
quadrant
screen door,
of
Your
the
Honor.
door. Inside the screen door. Thank you.
All right, so you indicated that you arrived on the scene. You mentioned something about a note. Where was the note that you found?
The note was on the front door.
And did you take the note down? Did you read the note?
The note was from the family. It was not read by myself. It was read by another officer.
Okay. Did you, with regard to the screen door that's present, did you attempt to open either one of those doors?
Yes, the screen door was open. It was unlocked, and I attempted to open the next door, which is the front door, but that handle was, that doorknob was locked.
How many locks did you say that you observed?
I observed two. I observed a doorknob with a key entry and a deadbolt with a key entry.
And after you tried the lock, the front door, and found it locked, what, if anything, did you do next?
I knocked on the door, yelled police department, and rang the doorbell, but no response.
And who were you with at that point in time?
Officer Nelson.
And did you instruct Officer Nelson to do anything?
Yes, at this point, I instructed him to begin a neighborhood canvass to try to speak to neighbors.
And did he depart from you?
He did.
And when he departed, what, if anything, did you do next?
At this point, I walked the perimeter of the residence, trying to see if I could see inside any of the windows. I made my way down toward the back of the residence, where I located that there's a 3-car garage underneath that residence.
Well, let's start with State's Exhibit 6. Do you recognize generally what this is?
Yes,
And what is this?
it's the right side of 6.5 Myrtle Ave, taken from the street view.
So again, using the pointer, is this that same wooden walkway that was depicted in one of the earlier photos?
Yes, it is.
Is this the front door where...
Attorney Stein, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but we need to make an accurate record. If you
I will
could
do
just try to narrate the area of the photograph to which you
Sure.
are referring. Thank you.
I'm pointing to the upper left corner. There's a wooden railing type of structure. Is that the front porch area?
Yes, it is.
And again, just behind the wooden railing, again in the same upper left-hand portion of this photograph, is that the front door area that you had tried moments earlier?
Yes, it is.
Now, it appears from the photograph, and correct me if I'm wrong, that the property seems to slope away from the house.
Yes, it does.
So in order to get down here, did you have to go down some type of an incline?
Yes, some kind of embankment I had to walk down.
And when you went down this embankment, you are now what appears to be in the bottom right-hand corner. I see at least a door, 2 doors and a window, and a brick structure. Did you determine what that is?
Yes, that was the 3-car garage portion of that building.
What's the picture? Picture of the garage. Where's the photos for today? Packet of photos. Today's packet. Just can you get that? Just.
Showing you what has been marked as State 7, full exhibit. Can you tell me what you recognize this to be?
Yes, that's the left side of 6.5 Myrtle Ave, taken from the street.
All right, so are you, as the person who took the photograph, standing effectively out on the front on Myrtle Ave?
Yes, sir.
And would this be looking down the left side of the property from the street?
Yes, sir.
And with regard to this photograph, I believe you said that Officer Nelson made an observation with regard to a skylight?
He did.
And does this picture depict the area of the skylight?
It does.
And if I zoom in, grainy. Are you able to see the skylight? Right in here.
Yes.
Could you just identify for
Yes,
the
I will,
record?
Your Honor.
Thank you.
So I have zoomed in on State's Exhibit number 7, and in the sort of center of the left side of the photograph, there is a hatchway open with light coming out from inside that the officers identified as an open skylight into the 6.5 room.
All right, counsel, could you do me a favor, please hand the exhibit to the witness, as the court can't clearly see that. I'd like to have the witness pointed out to the court. Thank you.
That's right there.
If you could just hold that in.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's right there.
Okay, thank you. All right, thank you, counsel. I'll take that exhibit. Thank you.
You will.
Turning the exhibit to the clerk. Madam Clerk.
Your Honor, I've just asked the clerk to mark States 10. I don't believe there's an objection from the defense.
No objection, Your Honor.
All right, could I just have some sort of an identification on 10?
Showing you,
Excuse me, that was 10? Did
10.
we miss 8 and 9?
I just want to make sure.
yeah,
So State's Exhibit 10, there was no objection to that, Attorney Gavin?
objection.
It's a photograph as well?
it is, Your Honor.
All right, court will accept into evidence, no objection, State's 10 photograph,
Just
thank
leave
you.
the space.
So now, Officers, Sergeant Barrera, I'm sorry, Lieutenant Barrera, are you able to identify what this is?
Yes.
And what do you recognize this to be?
Those are the 3-car garage that are located beneath 6.5 Myrtle Ave toward the rear of the property.
Okay. And so when you came down that, from the front of Myrtle Ave, down the slope, past the right side of the building, is this the, when you came around the back, would this be the back side of the property?
Yes, sir.
And then ultimately, if you continued around to the left side, would bring you back up to the area where the skylight picture was?
Yes, sir.
All right. Now, with regard to how this property sits on Myrtle Avenue, the residential entryway faces Myrtle Ave. Is that my understanding?
Yes.
If I'm standing and looking at the front of the house here on Myrtle Avenue, is there a street off to my right?
Yes.
And what street is that?
Judson Place?
And looking at the front of Myrtle Ave and off to my left, is there a street over there?
Yes.
And what street is that?
West Street?
And now, if I were looking through the house back to this garage door area, is there a driveway associated with this garage door?
Yes, there is.
Where does that driveway exit onto?
Onto Cottage Ave?
So the house is addressed as Myrtle Ave, but you enter into the driveway off of Cottage?
Yes.
Now, with regard to when you walked around, did you make an observation with regard to this window that is above the center bay there?
I did.
And what observation did you make?
I observed that window to be open, and it appeared to be a bay window to the residence above the garage.
Okay. So, is it fair to say that the residential unit sits above the 3-car garage below?
Yes.
And during your walk around the property, first of all, there were, as you're coming down the right-hand side, there were several doors on that right-hand side as well as a window. Did you try those doors?
Yes.
Were you able to gain entry through any of those doors?
I was not.
Were they all locked and secured?
Yes, they were.
When you made your way around to the back side, all 3 of these garage doors, did you make any attempt? First of all, did you look into the garage?
I attempted to.
And were you able to?
I was not.
Why?
They were all blacked out.
There was glass, but was it painted over?
It seemed like painted over.
And with regard to these garage doors, did you try to lift or try to open any of these doors?
I did.
And were they all secure?
They were.
And as you made your way then around the opposite side, were there any other doorways on the opposite side?
Not that I remember.
And did you discover, was there any way into 6.5 other than that front doorway that seemed to lead into this residential unit?
No.
Now, after you did this walk around, what happened next?
Officer Nelson returned from his neighborhood canvas and advised me he had just spoken to a neighbor who stated they saw.
Sustained.
When Officer Nelson came back, did he make you aware that he spoke to the neighbor?
He did.
Not what the neighbor said, but based upon what the neighbor said, what decision, if any, did you make?
Well, due to the conflicting information we received, we determined that we were going to have to force entry into that residence.
And did there come a point in time that you then forced entry into the premises?
I did.
Before doing forcing entry, did you advise Ansonia PD what you were going to be doing?
Yes, I radioed in and I advised them that I was going to be attempting to force entry.
Showing you what has been marked States 8 as a full exhibit. Do you generally recognize what this is?
Yes, I do.
What do you recognize this to be?
That's the panel that I kicked out in the front door.
All right. So now, depicted in this photograph, which has a red door, there's a hole here in the bottom right-hand panel on the center portion of the screen. Is that what you referred to when you kicked out this panel?
Yes, it is.
And likewise, we see two brass-colored locks along the border of the red door, a doorknob type, and a deadbolt type. Did you try? Were those the locks that you had indicated you tried to open earlier on?
Yes, they are.
Now, when you kicked out this panel, why did you kick out that panel?
To try to conduct the least amount of damage to that door. This way I could have reached in and unlocked both those locks.
Okay. Before you kicked in the panel, did you do anything with alerting to people inside?
Yes, again, we yelled police department prior to doing that.
And did you receive any type of a response from the inside?
No, we did not.
After you kicked in this panel, what happened next?
I reached my arm in to attempt to unlock both locks. As I got to the deadbolt, I then realized it was a double-sided key lock, and unfortunately there was no key on the other side.
All right, so when you say a double-sided key lock, what does that mean?
The interior lock portion of that deadbolt looks just like that. Instead of having a bolt action to unlock it or to lock it, it's a key that is needed to be inside of that keyhole.
So first of all, referring to what would be the top of the two locks, is this the deadbolt that you're referring to?
Yes, it is.
And it appears that a key would fit into the front of that lock, does it not?
It does.
Is it your testimony that the inside of the lock looks substantially the same way, where a key would have to be fit into the top?
Yes.
Was there a key present there when you tried to unlock it?
There was not.
And after discovering that, what, if anything, happened next?
At this point, I could see that there was lights on inside that residence. Again, I yelled out police department and then began to kick the door until entry was made.
And were you able to make entry?
Yes, I was.
Prior to actually forcing that lock, did you and Officer Nelson take any action with regard to any protective gear?
Yes, we both put on rubber gloves prior to doing so.
And did you have the rubber gloves on when you ended up kicking the door?
Yes, we did.
Once you were inside, tell us what happened next.
Well, once we were inside, we realized it was a studio-style apartment with a open floor plan. It wasn't very big. It was essentially the same size as the three-car garage beneath. I proceeded to go in first. Officer Nelson followed behind. When I proceeded straight through, Officer Nelson went to my left. Directly on my right-hand side, I observed a crib and a rocking chair. When I shined my light inside that crib, I noticed there was no sheets or bedding on that crib. I proceeded to go into the living room where I noticed the ceiling fan was left on and it was set at high. I continued into the bedroom of that residence and noticed again that bed had no sheets or blankets on it. At this point, Officer Nelson, I could hear yell something to the effect of, "Oh shit, oh fuck," and it was coming from the bathroom area. At this point, I immediately proceeded to the bathroom. When I walked into the bathroom, I noticed in the tub a pale, naked female body laying in there. Next to her was what appeared to be a human internal organ, now laying outside her body next to her in the tub. Her hands were also covered with what appeared to be dry blood.
Once you made that observation, did you give any instructions to Officer Nelson?
Officer Nelson and I both backed out of the bathroom. I advised him to continue to clear that residence and to look for the baby.
Did you and Officer Nelson continue to try to clear this apartment?
We did. We continued.
And did you make any observations while you were there?
Yes. In the living room on the carpet next to the crib was a large dry blood stain. It was very faint, almost like it appeared to have been recently washed.
Had you noticed it when you came in?
I did not.
Did you continue to look around the apartment for the child?
Yes, we did.
Were you able to find the child?
No, I was not.
When you ended up clearing the apartment, what further steps did you take after that?
Once we cleared it, I had Officer Nelson and I retreat from the residence to secure that crime scene.
And during this entry, were you wearing your department-issued body-worn camera?
Yes, I was.
Did you review it prior to coming in today?
Yes, I did.
Did you?
Do you have the disc? I thought I gave.
You have it. May I approach the witness, Your Honor?
Yes.
Showing you what has been marked States 9 for identification, can you tell me whether you recognize what this is?
Yes, it's a DVD copy of the body camera.
And prior to coming into court today, did you review this DVD body camera?
Yes, I did.
Is it a fair and accurate representation of the events that you've just recently described?
Yes, it is.
And did you record any identifying information on this DVD to ensure that this is the DVD that you saw?
Yes, I did.
And what identifying information did you place on there?
I initialed it and placed my badge number on there.
Do you see your initials and your badge number on this disc?
Yes, I do.
I would offer this, Your Honor, States 9.
No objection.
All right, with no objection, court will accept into evidence as full States 9. Thank you.
See, I'm going to give you a quick breakdown, okay? Earlier today, we had a missing person technically just trying to make contact with at number 6.5 Myrtle Ave. They came out,
Sergeant, I feel compelled to ask you about this painful marking here. right here. December 3rd, 2019 at 1:47. Your testimony earlier was that this occurred on December the 2nd at approximately 8:40 p.m. This seems to say December 3rd at 1:47 a.m. Are you able to account for that?
Yes,
And what's the reason that that is like that?
because the body cameras that we have there, they run on UTC time, so it's 5 hours ahead. So we would have to minus the 5 hours.
All right. So if we back this off 5 hours, this would be about 8:47 p.m. on December 2nd of 2019?
Correct.
Okay. I'm sorry. We review that.
See, I'm gonna give you a quick breakdown, okay? Earlier today, we had a missing person technically just trying to make contact with at number 6.5 Myrtle Ave. They came out, they said no car was in the driveway, no car was here. And then, yeah, but there's no mail in the mailbox, I don't think. There's no mail in her bed. Yep, nobody's home, but we can't find their backyard. Like, listen, she's a mother of a 1-year-old. She always shows up at work. She always contacts us. We haven't heard from her. This is really, really bad. We have a bad feeling. Talk to the boyfriend. Boyfriend says, I haven't seen her. I haven't talked to her all day. I talked to her in the morning, but I haven't seen her. We just get to the house now. There's a couple windows open on the second floor, which is really odd because obviously it's freezing out. I had him do a neighborhood canvas. One of the neighbors said, "Hey, I saw him driving her car out of here this afternoon." I can't get into the house. I'm going to kick in the door in a minute. But I call Steve out just to let you know. All right. Okay, goodbye. Okay, my camera's been on. All right, do you want to? What do you want to do? I mean, you try to knock it one more time and then just move it. No, hold it. Four, three. Right off this. We're gonna attempt to make entry.
Roger, did you guys know there was water complete on the broken?
Police department.
Sir. I'll take it with it. Roger.
Hey, there's no key, Nelly. There's no key. We gotta kick it out. Kick it in. Watch out. Get traction to the foot. Police department. Please. Police department.
Oh shit.
What?
Oh fuck, dude.
What?
Holy shit. Get the DB here. Holy fuck.
Okay. Find it.
Back out.
No, clear the room. Clear the house. D2, I'm gonna need you here.
Roger.
Okay. Now they clear. I need the bed searched, please, under the bed. Fuck, no kid. No kid. All right. Exit. Exit. Yeah. Okay, exit. do me a favor. Go talk to that neighbor. Give me all the information you can get.
Okay. I want me to just say, just keep it,
Just
no information?
no information. You just want to try to confirm it. Smitty, go do a neighborhood canvas, please. Yep, neighborhood canvas, names, times, cameras, anything we can get. Turn off my camera and have a conversation with her.
Lieutenant, just as that clip ended, you were pacing on that deck and you were walking towards, there was a window on your right.
Yes.
First of all, with regard to the position of the skylight, after you made entry, did you become aware of what what room the skylight was in?
Yes, it was in the bathroom.
Was that window that you were just standing by when the camera went off, would that been the exterior bathroom window?
Correct, it was.
When you first entered in to the property, into the actual apartment itself, you mentioned that you were aware that the ceiling fan was on and was on hot.
Yes.
I'm sure you noted that. Well, why did you note that in your report?
Because it was extremely cold out, windows were open, and no need to have a fan on in residence when it was that cold.
When you reviewed your body camera, did you notice candles around the apartment?
I did.
Did you point out that there were candles burning in the apartment when you made entry?
I did not.
Well, you didn't put it in your report.
Correct.
Did you see it on your body camera when you were reviewing your body camera?
Yes.
When you backed out, you made a reference to D2.
Yes.
Who is D2?
Detective Adcox.
Was he working at that time?
He was.
Was he the only detective working that evening?
He was.
And did you request him to come to the scene?
I did.
And you were having a phone call both before and after this video started. Who were you speaking with?
Lieutenant Lynch.
Who was Lieutenant Lynch to you at that time?
He was the supervisor of patrol.
And then as the clip ended, where you were giving instructions to Officer Nelson and you referred to the other officer as Smitty. Who is Smitty?
Officer Smith.
Would that be Officer Paul Smith?
Yes.
Was that the officer you were involved with on the telephone call shortly before going out to the scene?
Yes, it was.
And so he just arrived at the scene as you were exiting?
Yes.
I have nothing further, thanks.
Thank you. Attorney.
Hi, Lieutenant, how are you?
Good.
Good. Lieutenant, so I just want to make sure I follow up what Attorney Stein just asked you. So when you referred to Smitty, that was Officer Paul Smith.
Correct.
You saw him here today, correct?
I did.
Yeah, he just testified previously. And when you said Nellie, was that Brendan Nelson that you were referring to?
Yes, Officer Nelson.
Okay, so he went into 6.5 with you, correct?
Correct, he did.
Okay, so you're the patrol supervisor back on Monday, December 2nd, 2019, correct?
Yes, I was.
Okay, and would Officer Smith report to you, sir, back on December 2nd? Were you his immediate supervisor?
Yes, I was.
And how about Officer Nelson?
As well.
Okay, great. So was you chartered to go ahead and stay at the police department on the afternoon shift from 3 to 11, or were you out on patrol yourself?
We do both.
You did both. Okay. Were you out on patrol that day?
At some point that day I was.
Okay. All right, what was it that brought you back to the police station for the phone call that Officer Smith made?
When Officer Smith came in for that phone call, I was already present at the police department.
Okay, so I just want to go slow. So you came in, 3 to 11 shift, you were out on patrol, you had come back to the police station when Officer Smith was there.
Correct. When Officer Smith came in, I was already present.
Okay, great. Do you know who Jody Jacobellis is?
I know the name, but I know the name.
Okay, I'm going to ask you one other name, Stephen Holloway. Do you know who that is?
I know the name.
Okay, did you interview Jody Jacobellis or Stephen Holloway prior to the phone call that was made to New Haven, Connecticut between you and Officer Smith?
I did not.
Okay, so you had no contact with them?
Correct. I did not.
Okay, so Officer Smith indicated to you that he was going to make this phone call, and you joined in the call, correct?
Correct. I did.
Yeah, we have the body cam. It's a full exhibit here, and I take it that you were at the police station and you used the landline and put the conversation on speakerphone so you could hear it.
Correct. We did.
Is that correct? And then during the course of that conversation, you started to interact with the person on the other end of the phone,
Correct. I did.
right? And you believe that that was Jose Morales. Is that
Correct. I did.
Yeah, okay. All right. And then when Officer Nelson first showed up at 6.5 Myrtle, were you there, sir,
Officer Nelson was present prior.
prior to you arriving?
Correct.
Right, okay. And so we saw it was snowing out when you got to 6.5,
Yes, it was.
correct? Okay. And had he done any work, to your knowledge, prior to you arriving there?
Yes.
Okay, and just in your own words, just tell me what your understanding is what he did.
He attempted to make contact with anybody in that residence there, and he walked the perimeter of that residence.
Okay, so Officer Nelson's there, was he, I think you answered this, he was a direct report to you as the patrol supervisor, correct?
Correct.
Okay, great. So he gets there first, you make the phone call, you go over there, Officer Smith is not with you when you arrive at 6.5 Myrtle.
Correct. He was not.
Right, okay. And then, was that the first time that day that you were at 6.5 Myrtle?
It was.
Had you ever been there before?
I was not.
Okay, great. So you get there, it's snowing out, you talk to your subordinate, Officer Nelson, what did he see, what did he do, and then you approached the ramp that went up to the front door.
Correct.
Is that correct? Okay, great. And then, when you got to the front door, you weren't able to initially gain access to the apartment, is that correct?
Correct. I was not.
Okay, and did you ask Officer Nelson to leave at that point?
I asked him to do a neighborhood canvas. Yes.
Okay, so just tell us, when you were unable to get into the apartment, the door was locked, I think you said the screen door was open.
Correct.
Is that correct? I don't want to
Correct.
mislead you. Okay, so the screen door is open, you're unable to get in, you said, Nelson, continue the canvas of the neighborhood?
Yes.
Okay, and is that when you went ahead and you walked around down the embankment to the back of the property where the 3-car garage was?
Yes, it was.
Okay, and just, and we'll do this as we go along, but would you agree with me that the back of the residence at 6.5 has that, and I can put the picture up if you want, I will, the 3-car garage, correct?
Correct. It does.
Right, and the driveway to 6.5 Myrtle is in the back of 6.5 Myrtle, correct?
Correct.
Okay, great. And you walked down and you looked in the 3-car garage, but I think you said that the glass panels were painted over. Is that correct?
Yeah, they appeared blacked out.
Okay, and so you couldn't see in there,
Correct.
right? Plus it's snowing now.
Correct.
And now it's 8:30, 9 o'clock?
Roughly.
Yeah, okay. You know, I'm not trying to confuse you, all in that general time frame. When you went down and you did the perimeter of 6.5 Myrtle, were you with anyone else, sir?
No, I was not.
Okay. And Officer Nelson's off doing what you instructed him to do,
Correct.
right? Oh, and Officer Smith hadn't shown up yet.
Correct.
Is that, okay. So now, after you're around the back, you had checked the doors, I take it?
Yes.
Probably identified yourself as a police officer?
Earlier on.
Yeah, okay. When you were in the back of the residence, when you're knocking on the door, did you say something like Ansonia Police? Or
I don't
anything?
recall.
Okay, all right. But would be your practice to go ahead and identify yourself as law enforcement.
Correct.
official, correct? I mean, that's standard procedure for you.
Correct.
right? Okay. So you go ahead and do that, and you reached a point, I believe, that you were in the back where the 3-car garage was, and you decided to return back to Myrtle Avenue.
Correct.
Okay, so you came up the embankment, you went to Myrtle Avenue. Where was Nelson then?
Nelson was still conducting neighborhood canvas.
Okay, and then did you return back up that ramp up to the front door of 6.5 Myrtle by yourself?
I don't recall if I was by myself at that point.
Okay. Make sure it's okay. All right, so you, but eventually you went back to the front door?
Yes.
Okay, and then did Officer Nelson join you at that point, sir?
Yes, he did.
Okay, and you decided to make, I think the term was forced entry, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, and just tell me what forced entry means.
It means you have to use some kind of force to open that door.
Okay, because you didn't have the key for the doorknob, correct?
Correct, and it was locked.
And you didn't have the deadbolt key.
Correct.
Okay, and did you advise back to Ansonia PD that you were going to make this forced entry?
I did.
Okay, all right, and that's standard procedure, right?
It is.
Okay, because we don't know what's behind the door, and you want the Ansonia Police Department to know what you're doing next.
Correct.
Were you reporting to a supervisor at that point?
Over the radio?
Yeah.
I was not.
No, okay. I think I'm jumping around a little bit, but I think you told me Detective Adcox was the only detective that was on call that night,
Correct.
right? And was he back at the Ansonia Police Department, if you know?
I don't know.
Okay, but he was on duty that night?
Correct.
Okay, great. He was not directing you at that point or giving you any instructions in regard to how to act?
He was not.
Okay, gotcha. Because at that point, it was just a missing persons complaint,
Correct.
right? Okay, all right. So now, when you went up to the door, we saw you kicked in that panel in the lower right quadrant of the door,
Correct.
correct? Okay. And then did you take your arm and try to unlock the door from the inside?
I did.
Okay. And you were unsuccessful because it was locked. It was locked from the inside, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And that's when you made your determination that you were going to actually not kick in the panel, but actually kick in the door,
Correct.
right? And that wasn't easy because it was snowing out, correct?
Correct.
Right. And you had to give it a few whacks with your foot to try to get that door, right?
I did.
And it splintered off of the frame at that point.
It did.
Okay, and then I understand that you went inside, and Officer Nelson went inside as well,
He did.
right? Okay, and you wanted to clear the apartment to see if anyone was in there, correct?
Correct.
Right. Okay, and then you heard whatever he said, oh shit, oh fuck, or something like that, when he had gone into the bathroom.
I did.
Right, and he, at that point, had observed Christine Holloway's body, correct?
Correct.
Right, and you followed him in there at that point,
Correct.
right? And did you see Christine Holloway's body at that point?
At that point, I saw a white, pale female lying there.
Okay, because it seemed from the video that you were only in there momentarily, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, and then after you had observed the body, then you wanted to clear the apartment to make sure there was nobody else there,
Correct.
right? And you did that, and Officer Nelson did that pretty quick, right?
Correct.
And you directed him, hey, look under the bed, for example, correct?
Correct.
And did you look in the other closets or other doorways or anything else in the apartment there?
The closets we did.
Yeah, okay. And you were only in the apartment for maybe a minute or so after you had observed the body?
Roughly.
Yeah, right, okay. And then just tell me in your own words, you both went outside, correct?
Correct.
And what steps did you take next, sir?
Once we exited the apartment, we secured the front door or closed the front door to secure that residence. I advised Officer Nelson to continue his neighborhood canvass, beginning with the individual that he had just spoken to.
Okay. And do you know the individual's name?
I don't off the top of my head.
George O'Meara, does that
Yes, that rings a
does that
bell.
ring a bell?
Yes.
Okay, right. And he's the address that you were at was 6.5 Myrtle, and Mr. O'Meara is 6 Myrtle, right next door.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. So then it looked to me like what happened was you had exited the apartment, Nelson's outside, and then Officer Paul Smith shows up.
Yes, it
correct?
arrives on scene, yes.
Okay, and then Officer Smith, you direct him, Smitty, go ahead and conduct a canvass, correct?
Correct, I did.
Right, and you wanted to see if there was external cameras around
I did.
the area, maybe Cottage Street, correct?
At that point, it was focused on Myrtle.
Focus on Myrtle, sure. And that's standard protocol to go ahead and see if there's any cameras that picked up any,
Correct.
correct? Okay. And after that incident happened, that really wasn't the end of your day, though, wasn't it?
It was not.
No, okay. So I'll ask it to you this way, and you tell me if I'm correct. After you were at 6.5 Myrtle, then did you go to 105 First Avenue in New Haven?
Later on that would be the next morning.
Okay, so just so we're okay, it was Monday that you went on shift, 3 to
Yes.
11,
Yes,
right? And now we hit midnight, now we go into Tuesday.
correct.
Okay, and so now we're going to talk to you about Tuesday. Did you go over to 105 First Avenue in New Haven at that point, sir?
I did.
And did you go with anybody else?
I did.
Who was that?
Present was Detective Sergeant Froelich,
Yeah.
Detective Adcox, and off memory, that's who I have.
Do you know who Michael Castillo is?
Yes, he was a detective.
He was a detective. Did he go with you over there?
I don't recall if he was there.
It's okay. It's all right. What was your responsibility when you got to 105 First Avenue in New Haven, Connecticut, sir?
My responsibility was to stand in the living room.
Stand
In the living room?
in the living room?
Yes.
Okay. So, and you had never been there before? I take
Never.
it, right? Correct. Okay. So you and other brother officers go to 105 First Avenue, and you were required to stand in the living room,
Correct.
okay? And did you secure that location?
I did not secure that location.
Okay.
Your Honor, I'm going to start to object at this point. It is beyond the scope. I allowed some latitude, but I only offered this witness with regard to the activities that he conducted at 6.5 Myrtle. And he is now at a completely different time and place and day, as a matter of fact.
Okay,
We
so,
can have him come back.
Well, by having him come back as a defense witness changes the dynamic of the scope of the examination.
all right, so you were questioning this witness relevant to his investigation into this particular missing persons call. So, Attorney Gavin, if you want to just ask a question as to whether or not there was any additional investigation into that missing call, then it's within the scope of the cross-examination. If it's a completely different basis, then I'll sustain the objection, but why don't you ask the question before I do that?
Thank you, Aaron. Sir, when you wound up going to New Haven, was that part and parcel of the investigation that was being conducted with the other brother officers?
Again, I think it needs to be clarified whether he was conducting an investigation or if he was standing by as a fly on the wall or just a support officer.
Well, Attorney Stein, if this is part of his investigation while he's on the job and it was a continuation of his investigation at Myrtle, then I'm going to allow the continued cross-examination, unless it was something that was succinct and it was different and apart from the investigation that was conducted at Myrtle.
I think his testimony to this point has been, Your Honor, that he was a patrol supervisor. He has now mentioned that the detective division is on site. They are conducting an investigation. He said he was standing in the living room. So the investigation is being conducted by other people. So in terms of what is happening, for what reasons, or any of those, it is now we are into a different part of the investigation.
Okay, Attorney Stein, it sounds to me like he had a role. His role was to stand in the living room. So as far as I can tell, this is a continuation of his investigation. Before you ask additional questions regarding what happened at the First Avenue Street? First Avenue address, is that what you're asking? Why don't you ask him what happened immediately following his duties at Myrtle Beach, so I can make sure it's connected. If it's not connected, then I'll make a determination.
We're gonna go slow, okay?
Okay.
All right. You're at 6.5 Myrtle, right? Christine Holloway is found in the bathroom at 6.5 Myrtle.
Correct.
Did an investigation by the Ansonia Police Department continue at that point?
With the Detective Bureau, yes.
Okay. Were you in the Detective Bureau?
I was not.
Okay. Tell me what you did in regard to the continued investigation.
I stood by at the Myrtle Lab until some point they needed officers to go to 105 to assist with transporting Jose Morales up there. So my job was to assist the Detective Bureau.
Okay, so you were assisting as part of the ongoing investigation at that point. You had just recovered, correct, a decedent in the bathroom?
Correct.
And the investigation was continuing at that point?
They were conducting their investigation.
Yeah, okay. And you participated, and we'll go through what you did, but you participated in that investigation. You didn't go off shift after being at 6.5 Myrtle, is that fair?
I did not go off shift, correct.
Right, you continued, and I don't know
The
if...
court's going to find it's within the scope of cross-examination. It regards continuing investigation of the body and the disappearance, I believe, of the child at this point in time. He did indicate he was assisting, and he did have a role. I'll allow you to continue, Attorney Gavin.
Thank you, thank you. So, Lieutenant, I'm going to take you now away from 6.5 Myrtle, and you traveled, I think you told us, to 105 First Avenue in New Haven, correct?
I did.
Okay, and did you go there with anyone?
I do, but I do not recall who.
Okay, all right. When you got there, were other Ansonia police officers present, sir?
They were.
Okay, and who was that?
From my recollection was Detective Sergeant Frolish, Detective Adcox,
Yep,
and Detective Castillo.
and Detective
Castillo.
Castillo, okay. So you got there. Was Jose Morales located at 105 First Avenue in New Haven that evening? It would have been Tuesday morning now, the 3rd. Was he there?
I don't know where if he. I was not. I don't know if he was there when I got there.
Okay. Why don't you explain to us what you did when you got to 105 First Avenue?
So, when I was dispatched to go there, it was to actually transport Jose Morales back there. It wasn't the initial call.
All right, I wanna
If that
go-
makes any sense.
Okay, let's go slow.
Yep.
So, someone directed you to go to New Haven rather than go back to the Ansonia Police Department, correct?
No. From 6 Myrtle Ave, I went back to the Ansonia Police Department.
Okay, and how long were you there at the police department?
Probably a few hours.
2 hours, okay.
A few hours, yeah.
A few hours, okay. I'm not trying to
I know you're not.
box in the exact minute, all right. So you're at the Ansonia Police Department. What caused you to travel to New Haven?
They needed, the DB needed assistance, which is the Detective Bureau, to transport Jose Morales back home.
Okay. Transport him back home from where to where?
From the Ansonia Police Department back to his residence.
Okay. And when you were at the Ansonia Police Department for 2 hours, was that the time frame that Mr. Morales had voluntarily gone to the police department and given a statement to the detectives?
That I don't know.
You don't know if he was there?
I don't know if he went, how he got there, or if he was there voluntarily.
Okay. Did you participate in the interview at all?
I did not.
Okay. And as you sit here right now, you have no idea how he got to the Ansonia Police Department?
I do not.
Oh, interesting. Okay. So now you're at the Ansonia Police Department and somebody asked you to transport him?
Correct, to assist the detectives to transport him back to his residence.
All right. Well, you tell us, what does it mean to assist the detectives to transport him back to New Haven?
They needed additional bodies to go there.
Was he in your patrol car, sir?
He was in a detective's car.
Okay. This is getting a little confusing for me,
Okay.
so bear with me.
Mhm.
You're at the Ansonia Police Department and Morales is at the Ansonia Police Department.
Correct.
And somebody made the decision to return him to his home in New Haven, correct?
Correct.
And you were asked to assist in that endeavor.
Correct.
But you were not asked to go ahead and take him in your car, your patrol car. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. So you leave in your patrol car. Do you have anyone with you?
I didn't leave in my patrol car. I was in the detective's vehicle.
Okay. All right. You're in the detective vehicle. Which detective's vehicle were you in?
I don't recall.
All right. Okay. Was Morales with you?
I don't believe so.
Okay. So
We took 2 cars.
took 2 cars. Okay. So there were multiple detectives involved at this point. Is that fair?
Correct.
All right. Okay. So now it's Tuesday, early in the morning, and you leave the Ansonia Police Department in one vehicle. Detectives leave in another vehicle, and you head to New Haven. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And when you get to New Haven, were you aware of the fact that that's Morales's parents' house?
I was.
Okay. All right. Now, let's go slow. You get out of the vehicle in New Haven. As part of the investigation, what was your responsibility, sir?
Besides being there, I didn't have a direct responsibility to do anything in particular.
Just stay with me for a second. DB, Detective Bureau,
Yes.
individuals asked you to go to New Haven.
Correct.
You're over your shift. Your shift would have ended at 11 o'clock at night.
Correct.
Now it's all the way Tuesday morning,
At some
5
point.
o'clock in the morning, something like that?
Something
So around that time.
around that time.
Okay. So now you go there and you don't have any responsibility?
Correct. I don't have a direct responsibility to do a certain thing for the investigation, except to be present.
To be present, okay. Did you go into the house?
I did.
What did you do in the house?
I stood in the living room.
Okay, did you talk to anybody?
At some point while I was there, I spoke to somebody.
Who did you talk to?
I spoke to Jose Morales.
Okay, the defendant?
Yes.
Okay, you spoke to him?
Yes.
Your body cam on?
I believe it was.
Okay, and how long did you speak to him?
I don't recall how long it was.
Okay, did you speak to anybody else?
Not that I could recall.
Did you speak to his mom, Lydia DeJesus?
Again, not that I could recall.
Do you recall speaking to his stepfather, Marcos Garcia?
Not that I recall.
He was not under arrest at that point.
Correct. He was not.
Absolutely, right? They voluntarily allowed you to come into the house, correct?
Correct.
Okay, being cooperative with you, correct?
Correct.
Okay. How long were you at the house?
Several hours.
Okay. Did you just stand against the wall for several hours? I mean, it sounds
At one point, I sat at the kitchen table.
okay. You sat at the kitchen table. Okay. And then you left and you went where? Back to Ansonia PD?
I'm assuming back to the Ansonia Police Department.
If you don't recall.
I don't. Yep, I don't recall.
You don't recall. Okay. But at some point, it would be fair to say that you left New Haven.
Correct.
Okay, all right. And then on about 11 o'clock on Tuesday, you left,
Okay.
right? You had left, right? Around 11 o'clock on Tuesday, Judge Pearson had signed a search and seizure warrant for 105 First Avenue.
I'm going to object now. Again, it is way out. In fact, not in evidence.
I'll withdraw it.
It's withdrawn, so you're going to withdraw the question, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. Just cross that question out if you wrote it down. Some of you are taking notes. The question's been withdrawn.
After you left on the morning of Tuesday, December 3rd, 2019, did you ever return to 105 First Avenue, sir?
No.
You never went back there?
From the time I left, I did not make my way back there. No.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this so we're on the same page. Do you remember what time it was that you left?
I don't recall the time I left.
Okay. Was it the afternoon? Was it late in the evening?
I would say later in the afternoon.
Later in the afternoon. Did you assist in the execution of a search and seizure warrant?
Same objection, Your Honor.
I'll allow the answer.
I'm sorry.
You can answer.
I did.
You did. Okay. And what was your responsibility in the execution of the search and seizure warrant?
To assist with the search.
Okay. And tell us in your own words, what'd you do?
I searched, from my recollection, the basement bedroom.
Okay. In the basement of 105 First Avenue.
Correct.
Okay, and anybody assist you in that endeavor?
There were other detectives there, yes.
Okay, and they were searching that area as well?
Correct.
Okay. Did you recover any evidence at that point?
Not that I recall.
Okay. Was there an evidence officer there in case somebody recovered something that it would be turned over to the evidence officer?
That would have been the detectives.
That would have been the detectives. Okay.
Yes.
And your recollection as you sit here is you didn't find anything that you turned over to those
Correct.
detectives?
I don't recall that.
Thanks. I have no other questions. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Any redirect?
No, Your Honor.